Welcome to the Gonzalo and Jessica Show, becoming porn-free and empowering your sex life.
This is a show to help men to heal from pornography addiction and grow themselves into a healthy sexual life. All right, welcome to episode 5, where Gonzalo and I are talking about the physical body. The physical body. And this is such an enormous topic that we barely had any time to even scrape the surface. There could be an entire podcast devoted to this topic. So we threw some gems in there for you to listen to. And I really think you're going to enjoy this episode. It gets a little emotional at one point. And yeah, anyway, welcome. And let's just jump right in.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
As good as it gets.
Okay. And I want to say, like, for the sake of like the audience hearing this, it's important for me anyway to just like be open, honest, and genuine. And the whole "how are you" question, I always like to answer it honestly, but also appropriate for the context and who's asking it. So it's a societal norm to just always say, "I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm great," regardless of what's actually going on the inside.
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100% with you. As a matter of fact, I remember, obviously you and the audience, they know that English is not my native language, right? Look at this big accent. So I remember learning English, asking people, how are you?
Yeah.
And they would answer sometimes, I'm okay. But when they say I'm okay, that if you go specifically to the meaning,
Right.
should be something like, yeah, everything is good. But in reality, when you say I'm okay, it means the opposite. It means, and then that opens up. Basically, when somebody is telling you I'm okay, they are expecting a question. Hey, what's going on?
Right.
Because like the norm says, oh, everything is fine, But
right.
Anyway, that's an observation that I had when I was learning English. So I started asking, hey, so why are you saying okay if you are not okay?
Right. Yeah. And it's like, because the societal norm, that's what people expect. And it's like people, it's almost like trained into us to be like, don't share what's really going on, keep it to yourself. And this question became one of the most nightmarish questions that I could ever be asked when I was going through the most difficult phase of my life. But I was struggling. I'm like, I desperately want to speak with people about what's going on, but I don't want to burden them with my truth. So
absolutely. Yeah.
It was this massive, so I learned to say, I would combine the physical, how I was feeling, and the emotional, how I was feeling. And I would say something like, I'm doing 70% perfect today. And just kind of answer in truth. But
and also this has to do with that programming of of the Western world of not feeling the emotions, or that is not politically correct to express the emotions,
Right.
And at the end of the day, that's detrimental for everyone in society, because emotions that are not expressed, they stay stored in the body, and sooner or later the body is going to somatize those emotions in many different ways. And by the way, if we bring all this conversation to the context of pornography addiction, emotional repression is a big thing.
Massive.
In the world of pornography addiction. I mean, obviously, so much so that it would need an entire episode to talk about that.
I 100% agree. 100% agree. And, I caught myself when you asked me how I was doing and I said fine and great, there is absolute truth to that. And at the same time, I've been struggling with a really big thing.
Mm,
And, I buried one of my best friends on Saturday, my dog
mm,
of 17 years. And so
I know.
that's been a brand new struggle for me. And
Mhm,
so I just wanted to kind of share that with the audience to say, like, yeah, I wanted to add that part of the I'm fine, but I'm hanging in there, and this is a true testament. I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming. I can't just, talk the talk. I have to walk the walk. And that's what I'm doing right now with going through a great challenge in my life. I've done the inner work to be functional and have equanimity. And
mhm,
equanimity was a word that I learned about 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago. And it stuck out to me so much because of how badly I needed it and how that word is so, anyone who's addicted to pornography or addicted to anything, we need to strengthen our equanimity, which means we strengthen the ability to access our parasympathetic nervous system, calm, content,
mhm,
relaxed, even in the face of chaos around us. So the
mhm,
chaos doesn't swirl within us. We can become calm despite our circumstances,
mhm.
clear-headed, and still function.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I just
Absolutely.
wanted to kind of,
No, but
because
I really appreciate that, you're so open about this and so vulnerable at this moment. And, like you could easily, could said, Gonzalo, I don't feel good. You know, um, let's move for another time. But you're showing up. You're
yes,
showing up you're showing up not for me, your partner on this beautiful podcast, but for all the people that are out there and they are struggling.
yeah,
They are struggling. Struggling with pornography addiction is not a joke.
right,
The numbers are rising and rising and rising, and people still don't talk about it.
right, exactly.
So, and you are showing up for them, and I really appreciate that, Jessica.
Thank you. Yeah, there was a part of me that almost was like, ooh, should I push it for another day or a couple days out and, wait till I feel like I'm not maybe going to be on the verge of spontaneous tears. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this. And if for some reason the spontaneous tears come, that's a beautiful, wonderful example of how I want to be, who I want to be. And it helps other people to give themselves the permission to be the same way and not have the emotional suppression.
Absolutely,
And so,
absolutely. Thank you for showing up.
yes, you're welcome. And thank you for the acknowledgement. And you make it easy for me because every time we interact, it's less, my mood gets elevated. So,
Well, it's always reciprocal. So I love that. I want to ask you a question.
yes,
What are we going to talk about today?
yes, a wonderful question. Today, we're talking about the physical body
Mm,
because so much of what a lot of people are, normally thinking about is like in the mind when it comes to addiction and overcoming it and willpower and this and that. And like, if I can just have like the mind strength to overcome it. But all addiction lives in the subconscious mind, and the physical body is a grand extension of the subconscious mind.
mm,
Therefore, the addiction also very much so lives in the physical body. So
mm.
that has to be addressed. It cannot be ignored. And so, um,
100%. And I love that topic. And I totally subscribe what you're saying. Well, I mean, uh, a big earthquake in my mind was the episode of reading the book "The Body Keeps the Score" by Bessel van der Kolk. Oh my God! Like, I recommend that book to like every single person that is in therapy, therapists of the world, like doctors, healers, anybody, because you cannot, um, walk with someone, accompany someone in the healing path if you understand basic things about the human body.
Right.
By the way, look, I have a take on the human body, so bear with me, please. So you know, Western world, right? We are citizens of the Western world, and the Western world has built in the collective consciousness has built the general meaning by using contrast, because on this plane of existence, we have the opposite dichotomies, for something to be black, that needs its contrary, that is white. And basically we take those opposite dichotomies for everything, and we assign meaning to things based on the opposites, right? Long story short, there is this French philosopher, Jacques Derrida, that in the 70s started kind of like deconstructing how we think in the Western world. And he was capable of seeing this, that we built everything in opposites with all the gray in between, But basically, he noticed that we have the tendency of assigning kind of like a good side for one part of the opposites and the bad part of the other side. Like, let's say, men and women, men and women, man and woman. So, which is being very privileged man in the Western world for centuries, and women is being on the other side, or black and white, with all the things that entails, And so when it comes to the dichotomy of spirit, body, spirit has received all the props. Spirit has received, spirit is eternal, is beautiful, is higher, is connected to the divine. And the body is mundane, is sinful, is, kind of like obviously under the spirit. In reality, if we go and start analyzing pretty much every religious doctrine or every spiritual doctrine in the planet, they all recommend you that the most spiritual thing is to live in the present, right? Connected to the present. And if we analyze human existence, being in the present means that we have a human body. So there's nothing more sacred than the human body. So that dichotomy that dwells in the collective unconscious, that spirit is better than the body, is completely false. And it crumbles if we start giving a real thought. So the body is what allows us to live a human experience, ergo is sacred. So if we start coming from that place, then we have a massive change in our bodies. Sorry for the long digression, my dear, no. But I really, that's actually my belief system. But when I adopted that belief system, my life started getting better, especially respecting my body, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I'll add to that something that, one of my greatest teachers, and I know that you follow him too, is Dr. Joe Dispenza. And one of the things that he teaches, and, there's he'll teach the lessons from a neurobiological perspective and from a spiritual perspective. And there's tons of neurobiology that supports this, where, speaking about that dichotomy, the mind and the physical body, they're actually, the mind-body connection is so strong that they're inseparable. And it's because, when we have a thought, it changes physical matter in our body, because that thought can produce an emotion, and emotion has a chemical concoction to go along with it. That chemical concoction comes in the form of hormones and neurotransmitters and other chemicals that bathe every cell of our body. And so our thoughts will change the physical composition of our body. They will change our genetic expression. The way that we change our genes is called the epigenetics. And we have all these different genes that have little switches that go on and off. And one of the things that can change that or alter it or affect it is our thoughts, our thoughts. And then same thing. So our thoughts will affect our physical body. And then our physical body can feel amazing or terrible, and that can be controlled with our thoughts. And then vice versa, it goes the other way around. If we are, say, for example, being very physically active, it increases our endorphins, it increases our adrenaline, it can increase our dopamine and different things that feel good in the body. And then in turn, it's going to elevate our mood and our thoughts will be in a more positive place. And so each one has a very direct impact on each other. And it's a very fast and immediate response where our thoughts affect the way our physical body feels, and our physical body, we can do things to affect our emotional state and our thoughts and where our mind is at. And so that we like to think about it in that dichotomy, but they're really totally inseparable.
You know what? I really love the fact that you are talking about epigenetics, because we used to think collectively that we were, having like some history of, let's say, cardiac problems, heart disease in your family or diabetes in your family was kind of like a condemnation that you had, and you could do nothing to actually, to avoid that. But in reality, the science of epigenetics tells you that based on your behavior and your habits, you might have the genetic information on your DNA, but because of your habits, you don't manifest those genes, and those genes stay recessive, and you keep on having a healthy life, or you keep on having, you keep on thriving. So that story of like, oh, my dad, my grandpa, my great grandpa, they all died with, heart attack. I'm gonna die with a heart attack. That's a lie. That's a lie. Now with epigenetics, we know that behavior, habits, the way we use our willpower can defeat the genetic lottery.
100%. And on that, there's a fantastic, amazing scientific breakthrough medical announcement, that whatever you want to call it, that came out on Friday at one of Dr. Joe Dispenza's live 7-day advanced retreats, that there's a gene that's turned on and really amplified, and genes produce proteins. And this particular protein, the body makes a lot of it during meditation. Even with novice meditators who don't even think they're doing a good job of it, the body starts making this gene. And this gene gets turned on and starts making a lot of this protein. And this protein, what it does is it prevents, they did this extensive study with it, and it's so awesome. It prevents the COVID virus from entering the cell and making the person sick. And it functions the same way as the Pfizer vaccine, which it prevents the virus from being cut in half, and that prevents it from being able to enter the cell, and that prevents the illness. And so they have all these amazing electron microscope images in the control group, and then the novice meditators and the advanced meditators. And it was oh my gosh, and their science is so robust.
It would be amazing if we, under the episode, we put the link for that.
Absolutely.
For the people that are curious about that. As a matter of fact, I would love to check that out. I respect massively Dr. Joe Dispenza and the scientific work that him and his team has been doing for the last 30 years is just amazing, you know.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. If we put the link, you know, below this
Right.
episode, it would be amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that the replay, I think, is only free for 30 days from the recording. And so I'll put the link and it'll be there anyway.
Absolutely.
And you know, one of the really cool things is I think that this was government funded by the National Institute of Health. I'd have to go double check on that fact, but I'm pretty sure that it was federally funded because they had so much other robust data that the federal government was said, yes, we'll give you money to fund this.
Wow. Those are big steps, let me tell you, for science, for sure. Yeah.
Massive.
Especially for the people that are, you know, want to have a great health, you know, a thriving health. So those are great news.
And the people. Okay.
No, I was going to tell you, let's go back because it's easy for us to derail a little bit.
Yes, it is.
That, but let's talk about the body and porn addiction.
Yes.
You know? Let's see. I mean, if I just throw a question out there, you know, what's the role of the human body, you know, in this addiction to porn? How we can overcome that? You know, I don't know. What is your take on this, Jessica?
I mean, well, you know, kind of going back to what I was saying before, all addictions live in the subconscious mind, and the physical body is an extension of the subconscious mind. You know, we have neural networks that go from our brain down into our entire body, and they're affecting our body. And so in order to, you know, I'll say it takes place in the subconscious mind, but we can have conscious awareness of it. And so in order to overcome pornography addiction, any addiction, there needs to be all of the change work needs to take place on a subconscious level. And a lot of that needs to take place in the physical body. And that can be directed and orchestrated by the conscious mind to then basically direct and command the subconscious mind to operate in a new and different way. And there's different ways that can take place. One of the things, and maybe I'm getting ahead of your questions here.
No, but I totally fine. I mean, obviously, I love the way this is taken.
Okay. So obviously there are several different ways to work with the subconscious mind in the physical body. And one of them is simply called a pattern interrupt. And a pattern interrupt can look in many different ways. A pattern interrupt is something that we consciously decide to take action on that affects our subconscious mind. And so a pattern interrupt could be used in when someone gets a physical urge and is feeling compelled to go relapse. A pattern interrupt can be used when someone gets an intrusive thought that does not serve them. And so what we're doing is when we interrupt the pattern, it exists as a pattern because it's been programmed subconsciously and it is now our autopilot. It just happens effortlessly without thinking about it. It just shows up, whether it's, you know, a trigger and you're triggered into wanting to relapse, or the intrusive thought. And so there's different ways to, I guess, perform the pattern interrupt, depending on what pattern is being interrupted and whether it shows up physically or mentally, you know, mentally in our mind, or emotionally.
I love that you're taking that route, because look at this finding that it was kind of like a eureka moment for me. Okay, so I remember when I started, you know, learning sacred sexuality, and obviously you need to, in sacred sexuality, this is the premise is basic. sex is not only physical, it has different dimensions. You have to observe the other dimensions. And one of the dimensions is energetic, because you are moving sexual energy when you are, in any sexual activity. Let's say when you're masturbating, you are feeling how the sexual energy is moving. When you are having sex with someone, you are, because the way the human body translate the movement of sexual energy is through pleasure, right? So, and it's easy for us to feel that. This is not a story that we believe, we feel it in our bodies, right? So, the way you program the movement of sexual energy starts creating a pattern in your body. And your body not only gets used to that pattern to move sexual energy, but also to get sexually aroused. In other words, you're gonna crave that same pattern, even if it's unhealthy, even if it goes against the physiological basic functioning of your body, especially when it comes to sexuality, like being aroused and have all these cascade of responses in many different systems. You start getting sexually aroused. Obviously, you're gonna have a nervous system response, endocrine system response, cardiovascular system response, respiratory system response. Like all the systems are going to start working simultaneously, giving you a different response, right? And if you go with that automatic, crazy, compulsive way that porn teaches you, is you are literally programming your body the wrong way. I mean, this is basic neuroplasticity, Your body will get used to whatever circumstance you put the body through, So just imagine, and like this is a show about porn addiction. So even if I am a little bit graphic, it's for the sake of the collective healing. Look at that insane, crazy scene that every man participates when they are masturbating, watching porn. You have a screen with the porn scene, and they start kind of like masturbating, like the hand goes straight to her penis, and they move massively, like crazy, like super fast. That's not the way you're supposed to stimulate your body sexually,
Right.
This is a frenetic, compulsive, super fast. Basically, men, they are training themselves to become premature ejaculators. And I tell them that all the time. Like when I work with the groups or when I work with them privately, they are, and there are just little tweaks that we do in their behavior, and they start, probably like since the moment they start, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, they start seeing beautiful results, But following that crazy pattern that gets installed in the body is just going to destroy the enjoyment and the pleasure that they feel in their bodies when they, enter into the erotic space. So this is not a game, like losing the capacity of enjoying sex. This is a horrible thing. So as a matter of fact, sex is one of those things that allow us to love the human experience. We cannot deny that.
Right.
And if we take that from a human, life really sucks. So that's something very important to observe. What is the energetic pattern that you are installing in your body when the energetic sexual pattern, because this is going to have a massive influence in the way that you become sexually aroused.
Absolutely. And, it's exactly right what you're saying. It's a pattern install. Every time we perform a behavior, we begin to install that as being a pattern. And the more we participate in that behavior, the stronger the pattern becomes. And with pornography addiction, it's an extremely strong pattern. And one of the things that a lot of men will falsely believe about themselves who are addicted to pornography, they say, well, I just have a way higher libido. I have a way higher sex drive than most men. And so this is how I fulfill that outlet. But what it is nearly every man would have the capacity to get to that level if the pattern is installed. And the pattern can be uninstalled or reinstall a new different pattern. And that's what the pattern interrupt does. And so even if there's no obvious triggers, like something that someone might see online that could be a trigger, or being home alone is a big trigger for many who live with other people, or these more obvious triggers. One of the less obvious triggers has to do with the pattern that's been installed into the physical body and the subconscious mind, and that's simply the passage of time. Because when the subconscious mind, body, has come to expect pornography and, PMO, porn, masturbation, orgasm, and it's come to expect it in certain time intervals, if someone has that pattern installed through repetitive behavior over time, then if there's not some external circumstance that shows up as a trigger, it will force the trigger to come up inside of you, and it will force you to have thoughts and feelings to then go engage in the activity. And so that's one of the patterns that needs to be broken.
Let's talk about solutions. Look, I'm not gonna say that, I have all the solutions for this and that, but what I can tell you is that when I've worked, and I know you have done it too, when you work with someone and that person, embrace the healing program with discipline, and dedication and commitment, they actually start healing.
Absolutely.
They start healing from the root cause. So the physical body specifically, I noticed, and I know you are obviously, a big proponent of this, meditation.
Yes.
Meditation helps because meditation, causes massive changes in your physical body. Massive. And I mean, this is the paradox when it comes to like what we expect, because we're kind of like programmed, especially in our contemporary society, that something has to happen. But when you're meditating, apparently nothing is happening. You're like there, and apparently nothing is happening. But this is where more things are happening, because what is, first of all, you are being in control of your own, physical apparatus, like it's not like your body wants to move. You're telling your body, hey, relax, I'm in control, on one hand. On the other hand, many repetitive patterns will want to play at that moment, and then you are not only creating conscious awareness about that, but also directing, hey, relax, and you stay there. Then you are bringing more awareness of your breathing, And here there is an extremely important part, because every single emotion that we experience is linked to a breathing pattern.
Yes, it is.
And obviously, if we direct, using our willpower, a more calm, relaxed breathing, it is going to have massive results in the way we create. Not only that, but also, in your nervous system, the way you are calming your brain and allowing the good waves in your brain that are going to put you in a relaxed state that is going to open up your autonomic nervous system, so it activates the parasympathetic nervous system, and then you're going to start relaxing, because you and I know that most of men that have problems with a porn addiction, they are constantly altered, constantly like, nervous, anxious, kind of like in a hyper state, which is almost, like, I'm not saying that this is, but almost like being with PTSD. It's
Yes.
like this altered state that they just want to like jump, or, hey, no, this is like, dude, relax, So it activates. Meditation is like the number one thing. If you want to own your reality, is like, hey, the world out there is crazy, stop. And then come here, connect with your breathing, and start like this. Many thoughts will come, observe the thoughts without judgment, and keep going. That's it. At the very beginning, you're going to think that meditation doesn't work because you are thinking about 1,000 things, but still keep going, because maybe not today, but probably like 10 days from now, you will start seeing a little bit of the results. But imagine if after 10 days you can see results, what you can see after 3 months of daily meditation.
Yes. And there's something you said in there that I am so glad you brought up, and you were comparing it to almost like having PTSD. And the awesome thing is, in my own recovery journey of recovering from severe and complex PTSD, like the person who in public would be triggered and run and hide under a table and cry and hide, and like very severe, in that journey of recovery, and I learned about the mind and the body and the nervous system and the parasympathetic and the sympathetic and the limbic system. And in that process, I healed my PTSD and then in hindsight, I realized that I had 2 addictions that I healed as a result of healing my PTSD, because the mechanisms and the way that you can do it can be the same. Because when you have someone, an addict, going through withdrawal, and withdrawal can start, minutes or hours after you are done watching pornography. It can start to kick in right away. It's not like it doesn't take days or weeks to kick in. That can escalate. But when you have someone who's addicted to something and they're experiencing withdrawal, and you have a person with PTSD, there's the exact same condition happening in the brain, which is a hypervigilant limbic system. And to recover from either of those, that hypervigilance needs to be reduced and dampened and brought back to a normal place where the world no longer feels like you're going to be attacked at every moment. That jumpiness goes away. You feel like your calmness will match the environment. And so it's
super useful information. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? The thing is, right now, every man that is watching this show can totally relate to that. Can totally relate, because, and by the way, I've been there. And you know what? I was so altered. I was so like nervous at all times, that the only way that I could stop that nervousness was those few seconds of ejaculating to porn. But I could tame that anxious feeling when I was overflowing my system and putting myself in a euphoric state with all the dopamine that I was getting while setting up the porn scene that I was going to masturbate to. Because let's face it, I mean, you and I, we know this, that the way most of men that are, suffering with porn addiction, they masturbate to porn is they open 10, 15 windows at the same time, and each tab, they fast forward the porn scene to the most hardcore part, and once they have 10 or 15 scenes, they start masturbating, jumping from one another, appealing to the novelty of each porn star. That is going to be another rush of dopamine. So they create this euphoric state until the moment they ejaculate. And guess what? When they ejaculate, sorry for the language, but I have to say, they feel like shit. They feel like shit. They feel like guilty. I have no willpower. They feel depressed. They feel anxious. They feel way worse than at the beginning. So,
Right.
and this is a vicious cycle. So we need to interrupt this pattern, as you stated.
Absolutely.
We need to interrupt that, and we need, it's a must, we need to use the human body to interrupt this.
Yeah.
And one thing is interrupting the pattern at that moment, in the trigger moment, but at the same time, we must create in the human body another way of being. And that's how the hour of power, the exercises, the meditation start, kind of like recreating a new body.
Yes.
That is going to bring major healing. I just want, Jessica, I'm going to put something out there for the audience, okay? I just want every man, you brother, you, look, I'm looking at you, I want you to imagine how your life would be without pornography addiction. Just imagine that. As a matter of fact, close your eyes right now. And you tell me right now, brother, feel it in your body. We're talking about the human body. Close your eyes and feel in your body how your life would be without porn addiction. Feel it. Let it be right there in your body. Let it sink. It's right there. Feel that feeling. Feel that feeling of peace, of joy, that new level of existence for you. Feel it right there. Now you can open your eyes. That is totally possible, brother. That is totally possible. Jessica has a beautiful program. Believe me, it took 2 years researching about porn addiction. When I saw Jessica's program, I contacted her immediately. And I said, where did you find this information? Because she has brought on her program, step by step, so you can heal. And this is not a podcast too, like, just for promotion, I want to sell you into a program. No, right now, we are talking about an emergency. If you are right now, underground because of the porn addiction, this is not a matter of buying a program or not. This is emergency. Because if your sexual life is not working right now, nothing will work in your life, because this is the way you move your sexual energy. It is your creative energy. So I just want to call you to reflect, pause and reflect about your life. And if you are suffering with porn addiction and you want to stop, it is time to take action, brother. It is time. You know, I celebrate that my partner on this beautiful project, Jessica, is here, even though her beautiful puppy, 17 years with her, died this past weekend. But she's here showing up for you because she wants to diminish the pain on this planet. You know, we know that pornography addiction brings so much pain to the life of human. It brings so much pain, and we want to diminish that. We want to end that pain. That's why we are here, and we are here for you. So I invite you, from the bottom of my heart, brother, I invite you to take action. 2022 is a year of transformation. 20 years from now, you will remember 2022, and you will say, that was the year that I decided to take action in my life and to transform my life forever. So, brother, with all the love, that's my invitation. And I know that you will take action. So, Jessica, thank you for allowing me to say this to the brothers on the other side.
Thank you for your beautiful words. It brought me to tears. So, so thank you. Thank you for your beautiful message to bring me to beautiful tears. I was feeling everything you were saying.
Yeah, you know, and it's true. And it's true, you know, like you and I have seen enough men that are suffering with porn addiction, and we know the level of pain that they are experiencing, right? You've seen many. I mean, we've talked about, you know, some stories, and they are living lives of pain, you know?
Yeah, massively,
Mm-hmm.
massively. And
Yeah.
there really is so much that you can do to overcome this, and so much that you can learn. And the amazing thing is, it's the more you learn the science of it, then a lot of, not everyone needs to learn the science of it. Some people are like, just tell me what to do and I do it. And some people are like, I need to learn the science, and then I trust the process, and then I do the process. And so I teach that part of it for those of you who need that part in order to follow through with the process.
For the men that are willing to take action, you can call Jessica. Her program is available. You know, you can work directly with her, or you can order my book on Amazon. That's my book, Conquering Porn Addiction. You know, 7 steps to a healthy sexual life, and it's going to help you massively. So, brother, thank you for being here. And Jessica, the mic is yours to close this episode.
Well, I want to say I just received my personal copy.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
And I read the first chapter and I loved it. And it was like, and I can't wait to jump into the rest of it. And like, y'all got to have one of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I can't wait to discuss a little bit about that, because you know how much I value your opinion. So it would be amazing.
Absolutely. Yes. And,
thank you so much. Thank you so much for this episode, Jessica.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, all of you who are just here listening because you're looking for answers, you're looking for inspiration, you're looking for hope. And this is a place where we believe you can find that. And so, yeah.
See you in the next episode.
Yeah, see you in the next episode, and contact me if you want help through this journey. I will be your support. So, yes. All right. Bye-bye.
Adios.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Gonzalo and Jessica Show, where you are learning to become porn-free and empower your sex life.
Remember to subscribe, and if you loved the episode, please share the love with anyone that might need it.